Hi, my name is Angela Searcy. I'm a graduate student here at ASU. I also teach special education at Cherokee Elementary School, K through 4, and I have a classroom, a self-contained room with children with significant disabilities. I have 11 students, and we range from intellectual disability, multiple disabilities, autism. So this room is actually a sensory room combined with classroom, that kind of thing. So our lesson today is a lesson that I would be working with a student of mine who is in kindergarten. Her name is Alice. Alice has autism, and she has a hard time focusing and staying on task, and she gets a little rambunctious, but she's fun. So this is the lesson that we're working on, actually, that I started with her, and so I thought this is perfect. I'll be able to kind of flesh this out a little bit more and do all the little steps that I would like to do with Alice before we end the school year out this year. See how far we can get with this. So we're doing a greater than, less than, equal to lesson with Alice. And so there are a couple of things that we would start with. We have stations set up over here where Alice would go to do her lesson. And it's squared off and the desk faces the wall. And so the teacher, the paraprofessional, whoever is working with that student would sit in that little cubby area with them, and it would take away all the distractions while everybody else, there are several stations, so others can be working around the room, others can be sitting at different center areas and playing while other kids are working. And so that works well to kind of keep the distractions to a minimum while our kids are getting through their lessons. So Alice, we've got a full goal of that she'll increase her math early learning skills with 80% accuracy. She's going to be given a number verbally and be able to repeat that number and write it on lined paper for me. She would then be given a written number between 0 to 20, put a flashcard down, and she would then take some manipulatives, and she would place those manipulatives and count those out and be able to show me how many blocks it would take to actually match that number, that written number that we place in front of her. And so we want her to be able to do that with 80% accuracy. And then we would give her 2 sets of manipulatives, different numbers, and have her match numbers to each of those and figure out which one is greater than, which one is less than, which one is equal to. So we got several steps that are going to take us through and get us to that part. Okay. So the first part, giving her a verbal number and telling her to repeat that number. Alice, I want you to write down the number 10. Alice I'm going to say, what number? Alice would say 10. Good, great. Write that down on the paper for me. So Alice would write that down, and we would repeat that as many times as we needed to. Alice needs to be able to do that 3 out of 3 times in one day. Okay, consecutively. So if Alice does it right one time and then she does it wrong, then we start over. We still have to be able to do it 3 times in a row with whatever number that I give her. So just mix up the numbers, give them to her randomly. So we keep working on that till we hit the 3 out of 3 times. Once she can do that, then she'll be given a flashcard. And so our flashcards, Alice loves colors. So I've got all kinds of bright, colorful flashcards, and I would put a flashcard in front of her and tell her, okay, Alice, what number? And she would say 16. Perfect. All right, I want you to put the manipulatives down with the number 16 and count out how many blocks will it need to get to 16. And so Alice will have to match on the table 16 blocks to the number 16, okay? And so no verbal prompts. She needs to tell me what the number is. She needs to count out the blocks 3 out of 3 times. Mix it up, give her different numbers. She's got to do it 3 times. She messes one up, we start over again. We're still trying to get the 3 out of 3 right in a row so that we know that she is comfortable with that. Okay, then we're going to break it up and we're going to watch a video. So my kids love Jack Hartman. And so the Jack Hartman, Mrs. Alligator can chomp. So we're starting to get used to the greater than, less than signs. And so Alice would watch that, and we would just do some hand motions with it. And Mrs. Alligator can chomp, chomp, chomp. And she would have a blast with that. Then I'm going to show her the number line. And Alice has been working with this number line a little bit already. And so this is number blocks. And so as Alice learns and has identified her numbers, she can look and see how many blocks there are as we go through, and she can see that the blocks are growing as we get bigger, as we go along, so that these numbers, as we go this way, are getting greater. And so that will help her to have a tool to be able to identify where the greater numbers are. All right, and so once we've gotten that and we're able to use that, then after Alice has looked at her number line and she's really familiar with that number line, because we're going to let her use that for this next part, and we're going to play a game that's on PowerPoint. And so I'm going to move out of the way and let you see the PowerPoint file here. And so this is a greater than and less than PowerPoint game that is on Twinkle. And so each day we're going to come through and there are going to be different numbers that are presented. So we have a 13, we have an 18. So Alice has to figure out which way the alligator is going to chomp. Which number does it want to eat? Well, it wants to eat the 18, it's bigger. And so Alice would put the correct sign, we would show her the correct sign and say 13 is less than 18. It wants to eat the 18. And so we'd go through all of these different ones, and we'd just do one screen which has 7 practice problems on it for Alice to be able to understand the less than, greater than, and equal to. So she would play that game with me for day number 1. Now on this PowerPoint file, I've created 5 different days worth of separate problems. So each day while we're working on this, she gets a whole new set that she gets to practice on each day. And so once we've hit our 5 days and she can do that, then that's the end of the PowerPoint game, which should be the end of our lesson if we've done it well. So after we finish playing the game, then we set out manipulatives in front of Alice, and I give her 2 different groups. And so Alice's job is to count how many are in each group. So this one has 7, this one has 10, and so she has to find the flashcard that matches. So if this one has 7 blocks, we're going to put the flashcard in front of it that has a 7. If this one has 10 blocks, she's going to put the flashcard in front of it that has a 10. And then she's going to use these less than, greater than, and equal to signs, and she's going to figure out which symbol we need to put down so that we know which part the alligator is going to eat up. And she can tell me less than, greater than, or it's equal to. And that way we make sure that Alice is figuring all of that out with her manipulatives, okay? Again, trying to get 3 times consecutively, that we keep moving until she can give us the right numbers according to the manipulatives and the right symbol in the middle 3 times in a row. And we keep going until she hits that. All right, so once she's done that, that entire process is going to be repeated 5 days in a row. So Monday we do it, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We hit the end on Friday, and Alice has done great, okay? And so if she's gotten all the way through all 5 days, she should be super strong at this point, because we're doing it until she can get it 100%. And so that 100% on each of those individual steps should mean that when I get ready to hand her our summative assessment at the end, and she's going to work this entirely independently, I will sit in the cubby with her, but I'm not going to speak to her. I'm going to hand her the pencil and tell her, it's your job to complete this. I need numbers and I need signs. And so then I'll sit back, let her work her magic, see how she does on the assessment. If she can get an 80% on this completely independently, then we will consider the goal and the objectives to have been mastered. So that's our lesson. That's how we're going to do greater than, less than, equal to. I appreciate being in this class. It has been very enlightening, and it's very helpful, as this is the situation that I'm in. I'm in a classroom where my babies have some significant disabilities, and knowing different ways to teach them is very helpful. Also, being able to work through this math lesson with Alice, that's going to help us in the future as we think through that. We're working on number identification, knowing which numbers are bigger, which ones are smaller, which one's greater, less than, which ones are equal. And as we start moving past single digit addition and single digit subtraction, and we're thinking about carrying over and borrowing as we're moving into double digits and triple digits through these bigger math problems in the future, this knowledge is going to help build a base knowledge for Alice to be able to get to those larger steps as we get further into her education. And so I'm glad that we got to do this, and I'm excited to see where this goes with Alice in the future. So thank you so much for your time. I hope you have a great weekend.